Welcome to a special edition of Crawford County Outdoors. I'm Duane and I'm joined by Brenda Costa today. And behind us, what's that behind us over there?
This is French Creek.
Okay, so now you and I did a whole bunch of stuff with the creek last year, but you don't actually have to be in the water every time to do something with the creek, right?
No, but the work that we do at the Conservancy is protecting the land throughout the watershed. And that land protects the creek, so it's important for us to check out our properties too.
So I talked to a bunch of people last year after when we floated down the creek and we did our kayak show. I don't have access to a kayak. I don't have access to a canoe. I don't have access to a paddleboard. How can I do other stuff with the creek? So that's my question for you today. It's like, okay, what else can I do?
Right. Well, today we're going to be taking a little walk around our Brock's Lookout property, and the Conservancy has a couple of properties that we have trails on that people can explore.
Okay, so now when there's a trail, there's a tendency for people to come out with their four-wheelers and stuff and whatever. Now that's a mistake, right? I mean, that shouldn't happen.
That is. It is not permitted. Our land is open to the public, but it's actually private property. And this property here at Brock's Lookout is one that we have a lot of problems with four-wheelers.
Okay.
So people need to not ride four-wheelers on private property.
Okay. So don't bring your four-wheeler out and drive around on the Conservancy
That's right.
property.
Yeah.
So now, if I see a sign out there, and I see your signs in different places here. There's a train going past.
There's a train going by.
let's let the noise wait up here just for a second here.
It is an active rail line.
So creek over here, train over there.
Yep,
Okay.
Yep.
Okay. All right. So I think we'll be able to. I think people will be able to hear us now. Okay. So train comes past, but not a four-wheeler. Yeah, we don't want a four-wheeler tearing up the property, right?
Yeah.
I mean, that's a big part of it.
Yeah, it is. Unfortunately, if people are riding four-wheelers on our trails, they're compacting the soil. They could be running over different kinds of plants. But again, it's private property, so they should not be riding on our property.
Okay. All right. So now this isn't the only place where you can go and take a hike, right? I mean, we're here halfway between Meadville and Sagertown here.
That's
on
right.
this one. But there's other places that I can go and take a hike on the property.
Yeah, our Lou's Land property just outside of Meadville near Compadre's Restaurant. There's a nice trail that goes through there, and we're working on rehabbing a trail that we have on our Smock Riverwalk property in 5th Ward.
Oh, wow.
You and I paddled over there.
That's where we started our paddle the other time.
Where our Joe Cat launches.
Okay.
Yeah, we're going to rehab the trail over there.
Okay, so that's behind the ball field. I played ball there for many years or whatever. I never even knew there was anything back there. I just thought there was just kind of woods that went back to the creek.
Right.
But I mean, you can go and take a hike back there, right?
You sure can. Yeah.
So so going and paddling on the creek, to me, that's a good fitness thing. I had a shoulder surgery. Oh boy, what was that? 10 years ago now, something like that. And the kayak, that's my therapy, that's my therapy. But it's like, you don't have to, that's not everybody else had a shoulder surgery,
That's right.
They can go and take a walk, right?
That's right. Yeah, and that's why at the Conservancy, so we do hold paddling events, but we like to have other events that everybody can enjoy. We have guided bird walks and property walks, just so people can see the land that we're conserving. And it protects French Creek, but it's not always about being on or in the creek.
Okay. Now, being on or in the creek, that's a good thing. I mean, you can go out there and
I wish
paddle.
I was doing it myself.
Yeah. So how's everything going this year? Now, this year, it's like every time I turn the weather on, they're talking about this big wildfire in Canada and all the smoke that's coming through or whatever. I mean, is that impacting stuff?
I mean, it's really just air quality for people in the area. It doesn't necessarily have a detrimental effect on the watershed itself. But boy, there's been days that you don't want to be outside.
I know. I go out and you look out and it's like, boy, it's all foggy this morning. And it's like, that's not fog. That's smoke that's coming from Canada, from the wildfire in Canada.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
That's actually kind of a big deal, I guess. So.
It certainly is. Yeah.
Okay. So we're not having any issues like that this year.
Thankfully, no.
That's a good thing. Well, what do you say we go take a hike?
Sounds good.
Great.
So this is our Brock Lookout property, and it was donated in 2019 by the George Brock estate. And George really wanted to be sure that the tall hemlocks that overlook French Creek over there were protected.
Stay there, sure.
Yep.
That makes sense, actually. That makes a lot of sense.
Those big trees are really important in stabilizing the creek bank, especially on the bend here. So he donated the land to the Conservancy, and it's about 9 acres. It is kind of unique because we've got this active rail line, so every once in a while you can be out here and a train will fly by. But there's this nice trail here that's about 7/10 of a mile.
Okay.
Flat, easy walk. There is a downed tree that we're going to have to get around, but otherwise, it's a really nice flat walk that I think most people could get through.
Yeah, this is very pleasant. For those folks who want to get out and get a little exercise, I mean, this is a great place to come out to, right?
It is. I like this location because it's nearby both Meadville and Sagertown, so I think it's accessible for a lot of people. We do have space here to park some cars. It's a little tricky getting in and out of the driveway. Busy road down there, and we might be hearing some road traffic as we walk around today. But it is a simple, easy place to enjoy, and it's kind of, you get lost in this little forest here that you might not know exists.
So you're not going to technically get lost because the trail's going to bring you
Definitely.
back out. Going to bring you back out, right? Yeah. Okay.
You will not get lost, no. And actually, this trail is blazed. We do have painted blazes on the trees out here.
So that marks, so you know to watch those things.
Yep.
Okay. Is that a hemlock right there? No, that's not a hemlock. Or is that a hemlock?
That is a hemlock.
That is a hemlock. Okay.
So there are quite a few large old hemlocks on this property. And as we get a little further up, you'll see where we've got some big old trees that have fallen down in the last few weeks with the big storms we've been having.
Now this yellow mark on the tree over here,
that's a blaze.
That's telling you you're on the right trail.
You're
okay.
on the right trail.
Okay.
Yeah.
I remember when I had one of the college professors on with me, we were walking out by Guy's Mills, and we were talking this was before the emerald ash borer is like wiping out all the ash trees.
Yep.
There was a big concern about the hemlocks, that they were going to get hammered.
There is a concern. There's an invasive insect species called the hemlock woolly adelgid. And Crawford County is perhaps the only county in Pennsylvania that does not yet have an infestation, but they're coming. And so the eastern hemlock is Pennsylvania's state tree, and we really want to work to protect those species. So we have a couple properties that have large hemlock groves, and we have some landowners and some donors who have donated funds to help us work to protect those hemlock trees. There's a couple different ways to do that. You can inject them. There's a certain injection that you put in the roots of the trees to help give it some resistance to the woolly adelgid. There are some other insects, a specific kind of beetle that can be introduced. But we're working on our plans now. It's not here yet, but so we have some time to prepare, see what we can do to protect the hemlocks.
Now it seems like this has been a real strong wind year here this year. Is that what's happened here? Is this a tree got knocked down?
We've had a couple trees come down. I think actually this is from two different events. There was one tree down, and now I think a second has come down. But we've had these high intensity storms, and so some of these bigger, older trees have come down during those.
An old tree's going to come down. I mean, yes, it's going to come down.
Yep. And actually, dead wood is an important part of a forest. There's, cavities for owls to nest in. It makes good shelter for other species. So having downed trees is not a bad thing. You just want to be sure that there's other growth coming in to replace it.
Oh, sure. Yep, that makes sense.
Make our way.
That is a pretty good sized tree right there. That's
Yeah. It's actually two, and they are pretty substantial. And we might come in and do some management of this to clear it off the trail a little bit, or reroute the trail here where we've kind of climbed over things. But it's not a case where we'll remove this. A forest doesn't have to look beautiful and have all the trees cleaned up. So these very well could just stay here.
Okay.
The other thing that's important to think about in a property like this and on some of our other concerned properties is, what is the deer pressure? When you have down trees and you want other trees to grow in and regenerate and fill these holes, how many deer do you have in the forest chomping on all the little tender shoots?
They like to eat the baby trees, right?
They sure do.
Yeah.
So if you look around and see places where we've planted trees, and we'll see some at the end of our walk here, we have tree tubes on them. We have our trees sheltered because
that's going to keep them from getting eaten.
Yep, we want to be sure that those trees have a fighting chance against all those deer. There were 3 deer here this morning that I spooked when I walked a little earlier, so they're having some snacks in here too.
I see some little pines here coming up. Those look nice.
Yeah, and again, you don't want the forest floor to be just leaves and flat and cleared out. And it's important to see signs of regeneration of some of these trees growing up. So here's a little blaze lesson. This kind of blaze indicates that we want to turn right.
Okay. Is that the 2 marks there?
Yep.
Okay. So 2 marks, that means turn.
2 marks, that means we're making a turn.
Boy, there's a fair number of small evergreens here.
Yep, that's a good sign. A property like this will work on what we call a forest management plan. And that's not the same as a timber management plan. We're not looking at coming in here and cutting trees and harvesting them for monetary reasons, but is there something that we could do to this forest to make it healthier?
Okay.
Are there invasive species? And yes, there are.
Okay.
There's a lot of multiflora rose that grows in here, some other invasive species. But so for our conserved properties, we want to look and see what could we plan for, what could we do that would make our forest healthier.
The multifloral rose is my least favorite thing in the world. It's like when I'm out with the dogs for hunting season, it's like that's where the birds like to hide, you know, under that stuff, and they're like little hooks, you know. It's not just like it scratches you or whatever. It like grabs and digs in, you know.
Yeah.
Oh, I hate that thing. Okay.
Yeah, and it was introduced originally to create natural sort of hedgerows. And it makes great habitat for smaller animals, but unfortunately, because of its invasive nature, it can take over other places pretty quickly.
I had my younger dog Butch last year. We were out at the game lands that's at Taylor Stand. It's out off of Route 77, and big multiflora rose bush, whatever, and he goes diving, and the thing had tucked itself right underneath there.
Oh, no.
And the only way for it to go was the way he came in. So he comes out with it in his mouth. I didn't even have to shoot the gun. So it's like, okay, dinner. I had dinner. I didn't have to shoot the gun one time.
Right, right. Yeah, it's unfortunate. There are some of those types of species that are introduced for what seems like a good reason, but unfortunately, over time, it turns out that they're more invasive and more difficult than anyone intended.
Well, lots of nice ferns right here.
Yeah.
Do those block other things from growing up, or?
They can. There's kind of good ferns and bad ferns.
Oh, okay. Okay.
But if you have just a carpet of ferns, that's not necessarily the sign of a healthy forest either. You want to be sure that there are other things that are able to grow up in between.
It seemed like it's just that one little patch right there. It's not everywhere.
Yeah,
I mean, I see another little fern plant, you know, here and there, but.
You can see there's lots of multiflora rose in here that could use some management.
When you are out taking a walk, be careful about those, because they're not like, oh, it's a rose bush, it's a beautiful rose bush. It's like when you touch the thing, it grabs you. You know,
Yes.
the little thorns grab a hold of you and don't
sure
let go.
Does. Nope. And you think you can kind of push them aside with your foot, and probably not.
I saw a thing on the news here, it was a couple years ago. I think it was Mercyhurst College, and they had a bunch of goats, and they were like renting them out to, like, they would set up a little fence, and for whatever reason the goats like to eat the multifloral rose.
They do, and actually they're doing invasive species management with goats at the Erie National Wildlife Refuge.
Well, that's interesting.
Yeah,
Okay.
they do like multiflora rose. So you can choose to go over or under here, Duane.
Okay.
Our limbo tree.
Okay.
Yeah, the goats will eat multiflora rose. They'll eat a number of invasive species. So it's a great way to manage plants in an area if you're able to do that. But I think they've had some success doing it out at the refuge.
I think what I saw was they had like a little temporary fence thing that they would set up in an area where there was, you know, a big patch of multifloral rose, and I guess the goats just targeted that. They, you know,
Yeah.
that was like it was like, wow, that's something you actually like to eat. You
Right.
know,
Yeah, when there's not other stuff for them to eat, they will eat multiflora rose.
it seems like that wouldn't be fun to chew, and it would seem like it would be stabbing your mouth or whatever, like it, you know, like it stabs your skin when you're walking past.
Right.
Well, okay, if that works, I'd go okay.
Well, isn't the old joke that goats would eat a tin can?
Well, that's true. Yeah, that's true. Yeah.
They're not picky. So this is an interesting part of this property. When the property was donated to us, there was a house that was in this portion of the
Okay.
property. And the house was in really bad shape and needed to come down. And so we tried to make an opportunity out of that challenge, and we worked with the local firefighters to create a fire learning experience. They came
Okay.
in and they burned the house down, but used it as firefighter training.
Practice
Yeah,
for there.
for
Okay.
practice.
Okay.
So it was a win-win.
Okay.
It was great.
Okay.
And then now we've planted some native species of trees here, and you can see they're doing okay. They're coming out of the tops of their tubes here. Don't look like they've succumbed to any deer, so it's good to see this area regenerating some.
So the firemen didn't set the forest on fire.
They
huh?
did
Like
not. That tree over there got charred a little bit, but
Whoops. Oh, actually, you can see that. You can see that.
yeah,
Yeah.
it was dead before they burned the
Oh,
house
okay.
down. But
Okay.
yeah, I mean a little residual burning over there, but it would have been a huge expense for us at the Conservancy to take the house down. So to have that beneficial situation where they had fire school and we got rid of the house, that was a great thing.
I think I've heard of a couple of other times they've done that in the area.
Yeah.
I know a friend owns some property out in the Guys Mills Townville area, and the same thing. The fire company came and they burned it down, then put the fire out, then they burned it down again and put the fire. You know, they did that several times to keep, you know, to kind of figure out how to do that.
Right.
And then they finally just burned it down to the ground.
Yeah, it was interesting to watch because they would set a fire in the second story and put it out, and they would set a fire in the first story and put it out, and just set a few different fires in the house, and then in the end they burned it all down.
There's
So-
probably no better way to learn how to do that than
Yeah.
to actually do it, right?
That's right, right.
Yeah.
Yeah, so it worked out really well. It was a good experience.
So what kind of trees are these? They look like oaks, maybe?
So a lot of these are oaks.
Okay.
Yeah, we plant a lot of oaks on our properties. They are hardy in most conditions, and they will be most climate tolerant and resilient as we have hotter temperatures or more extreme storms, stronger precipitation. These trees will be able to weather that more so than some other species.
Okay.
So a lot of what we plant is oaks. There's a couple white pines that were planted in here, and these were planted as part of our French Creek cleanup a few years ago.
Oh, okay.
You know, we have lots of folks who are out cleaning up trash and might be in the water, but then we have a couple other properties where we have people do stewardship projects, and they're planting trees, working on the trail, that kind of stuff.
You were talking about the deer here earlier. I know the oaks are a very popular thing with the deer.
Yeah.
Now, someone told me, and I forget who it was that told me, that young maples are very popular with deer. They love to eat the young
really?
They love to eat all the leaves
Oh,
off the
look
young maple. Oh, wow. Is that a hawk?
It's a hawk.
How
Yeah.
about that?
He came out just as I wanted him to.
Going out into that burned up tree. There he is. How about that?
See, and you don't think of having dead trees be particularly valuable, but they really are important for birds.
I think the hawk, he probably wants to look around for chipmunks and small animals or whatever, so if he's not like tied up in a bunch of branches, right, he can probably see better, you know, see where the little animals are.
Yep, good vantage point.
How about that? Well, that was a fun walk.
And we started a little further back, but starting the trail here, we have this little parking area and our sign here, but this used to be a township road, and it is no longer a township road. We actually own it.
So when you see a sign like this that says French Creek Valley Conservancy, that means that's a property that you can go take a walk on, right?
That's right, absolutely. A lot of our properties are open to the public. We have properties that are properties that we own outright, but then we have properties that have conservation easements. Conservation easement means the property is protected, but we don't own the property. So the properties that we own are open to the public. Some of our conservation easements
Does the sign mean that, or
conservation easements have a different sign, so you would know that those are probably not open to the public. So if you see a sign
like this, that means it's okay to go take a hike there.
Yeah, absolutely.
Perfect.
And this is a neat location because we're near the McGuffintown Bridge, and we have 3 of the 4 corners of the bridge over here are protected by French Creek Valley Conservancy. On the southwest corner, we have a property called Caden's Landing. That is a conservation easement that was donated to us by the Wilson family. And on the other side of the creek, we have Lufer's Landing, which is a property that was donated to us by the Hodges family. So it's great. We've got 3 out of 4 corners protected here in this little area.
Nice, very good. How about that?
But so you can really see these big hemlocks that George was concerned about protecting. This is a pretty steep bank over here, and so it's really important to have these trees to hold this bank in place.
That is steep, boy.
Yeah, it's really steep, but these trees help anchor this bank and keep too much sediment and dirt from washing down into the creek. There are some really sensitive species that are located along this area, which is why we were really concerned about protecting this section of the creek.
So it's not unusual for banks like this around Crawford County, and it's specifically around French Creek and Woodcock Creek and other creeks like that. There's steep banks like that.
Yeah,
and it's a very good thing to have large trees with the roots way down, right, really grabbing in.
Right. This is on a bend. This bank is on the outside of a little bend here. So if you didn't have these large trees anchoring this bank, the creek would erode this bank on the outside of the bend pretty quickly.
So the outside of the bend is where the washing away.
That's right.
Yeah. Okay.
It's actually called a cut bank. That's the term for the outside of the bend because the water is cutting into the bank there. So having large trees like this to hold the bank in place prevents having all that erosion.
I see. It looks like a block of concrete laying down there in the middle of the creek. Cleanup day. Somebody got to carry that. Somebody got to carry that concrete out of there.
Right. I'll assign a strong team to come out here and pick that one up.
Well, it's not a shopping cart.
No.
You know.
We always do have our collection of shopping carts for cleanup day, but.
I told you this story before. One time, my group we went through town through all those tunnels. We found 4 shopping carts in the tunnels going through Meadville.
Well, going through Mill Run under the city is pretty cool, but having shopping carts in there is not.
I just don't get the whole concept of taking a shopping cart from the store and then throwing it in the creek. You know?
I don't know.
What's the deal? I don't get that. I don't get that.
But our French Creek cleanup this year is September 9th.
Okay.
And registration's open for that if people want to go to our website and register to help out at the cleanup. Our website is www.frenchcreekconservancy.org. But, you know, I mentioned that tree planting back there was one of our French Creek cleanup projects. we'd had so much success in cleaning up trash during the cleanup
Sure.
that we don't have trash projects for everybody anymore.
Okay.
So now we've been doing some of these stewardship projects.
That's
so
a good thing.
Large
I mean,
groups
that's
can help us
a good thing. Yeah.
Yeah.
So you can kind of move on from the cleanup.
Yeah, we've
So
had people help us plant hundreds of trees in the last few years.
So there's still going to be cleanup things like in the area, like that flow into the creek, right? And,
Yeah.
And then, okay.
Yeah,
Okay.
we're never going to run out of trash. But doing these large-scale stewardship projects just allows us to have a large team come in, and they can plant 250 trees in 2 hours, and that's a huge help for us.
That's great.
Yeah.
That's great. Well, that was a fun walk.
Well, Brenda, that was a fun walk. That was a fun hike there. And it's like, yes, you were right. There were a couple places we had to climb over some stuff or whatever, but that's not going to be like that forever.
That's right. Yeah. Yeah, we're going to get the path cleared up a little bit, and it should be a pretty easy walk for most anybody.
So if you were telling people, okay, you don't have a kayak, you don't have a canoe, whatever, but you want to get out and get some fitness kind of related stuff in, would this be the thing to do? Would you tell them to come out and take a hike?
Absolutely. Yeah, I mean, this is close to a lot of people. You could come out here, walk your dog, explore a little bit with your kids. It's a really nice, easy location to get to.
I think it's a great thing to get the kids out in the woods there, and especially on a trail where you're not, you don't have to battle the multi-floor rows the whole way. You can kind of move away from it. There's one sticking up right there.
Yep. Yeah, but it's also, I mean, it's not a paved trail. It's completely natural. So you might see a toad. You might see a little salamander. I think there's a lot of things you could discover here.
Or you might see a bird.
Yes, you might.
That flies over and is looking at you, like wondering, hey, are those two things food there?
Right.
We're not food. Yeah.
Right.
Okay. Well, speaking of food, Chef Lisa is going to do a recipe here for us, so that's going to come up later. So stick with us. Joining us now, Chef Lisa. So Lisa, we've been the whole last year we were doing French Creek stuff, and you were doing fish all the time. Now this year we didn't get in the water. No. We were hiking. So what are you thinking for today?
Well, I'm doing an oldie but a goodie. Okay. We've done this recipe before. It's the right time of the year to do this recipe. Okay. And being outdoors and all, it's warm, it's summer, our gardens are growing, and we've done a zucchini brownie recipe before and people loved it, so we're going to do it again.
Awesome. Yeah. Awesome. Okay. Zucchinis are it's July. Zucchinis are we're getting them in our house too.
They're out of control in our gardens.
Yeah.
We're every day there's a zucchini recipe in this house. 9 times out of 10 it's a new one because I don't want to do the same ones over and over again. I'm doing new ones every day. So, but they're healthy and we love them. And if I have any left over and I don't know what to do with them, I'll probably make some zucchini relish, which could be another show.
Wow. Okay.
So you never know. Down the road, we'll get that out for you.
Very good. All right. So where do we start?
Okay, we're going to do dry ingredients first. So, and just disclosure here, I typically would use my big KitchenAid mixer with a paddle, but we don't need that today. We're just going to do it this way, and it'll be fine.
Can I use this?
For this, yes, absolutely. So we're going to put our 2 cups of flour in this bowl.
Okay.
All-purpose. I use unbleached. We have a 1/2 cup of unsweetened cocoa powder, a 1.5 teaspoons of baking soda. Not baking powder. This time it's baking soda.
Baking soda, okay.
And about a teaspoon of salt. And if you just want to give that a good whisk, just to incorporate all.
That doesn't take too long to blend, does it?
It doesn't take long.
Pretty fast.
Nope. We're gonna move to the big silver bowl. So we'll set that aside once you're done.
Okay.
And we'll be using the mixer on this one.
Okay.
And you don't put a lot of wet ingredients in this because the zucchini has all the liquid.
It's pretty wet on its own.
Yeah, I have about 2 cups of shredded, and what I always do is I'll shred it into a colander and just let it sit for a little while.
Now, do you take a shredder like you would shred cheese with, that same type of shredder?
You can, but I have an electronic one.
Oh, okay.
And I've had it for years, and it just really it shreds the zucchini really nice and fine.
Okay.
And I let it sit in a colander. I don't push the liquid out because we want the liquid, but I let it drain a little. Okay. And just, it's been out for about an hour. It's not a big deal.
Okay.
And so we're going to take this big bowl, and what we're going to do is we're going to take a 1.5 cups of granulated sugar.
Okay.
And about a 1/2 cup of vegetable oil. I have substituted applesauce for this, But for this particular recipe, we'll just use the regular stuff. And 2 teaspoons of vanilla. They call vanilla extract. I have regular. I don't really think it matters in this recipe.
Okay.
So Duane, if you want to, how about I get this out of your way?
Oh, okay.
And if you want to mix that up, just so it's nice incorporated
So now,
together.
the further you push this forward, the faster it goes, right?
Yeah, you don't want to
So
start off
we're
fast.
going slow. Okay.
Yeah, you can go a little faster. He's really good at this.
This blends pretty fast here. It looks
It
like
does.
it's ready already.
Yeah, I'd say you're probably good there.
Okay.
Yeah. And you can see it's not real wet, but it's,
Yeah.
you know, incorporated. So slowly but surely, we're going to incorporate the dry mix into this. And it's
Okay.
going to get really dry.
So now go slow.
You want to go slow
because we don't want
it'll
that flying all over the place.
Fly everywhere.
Okay.
So let me pour. Let's use something to scoop it up with. I don't have my. Let's do this. And we'll keep it slow and just mix it in. Typically, like I said, I would use a paddle for this in my mixer. And it's going to get real dry, but that's okay. It won't be for long.
Okay.
And when you taste the brownies, they're not dry. So let's get some more in there. Yeah, if you dump the whole thing in, you've got powder all in your face. It's just not a good thing.
This has been the year for the cloudy stuff outside.
Yeah, we don't need it in here.
We don't need the cloudy inside, right? We just
That's
want the
right.
cloudy outside. Okay.
That's right.
I'm hoping that's going to end at some point now. It's like
Yeah. Well,
how much can Canada burn down? You know, I mean, it's like Canada's going to be
at some point,
it's going to
gotta
be gone.
stop.
It's going to
Yeah,
be gone at some point, right?
You're right. And you know, despite the cloud cover, the zucchini have flourished. So thank goodness it didn't affect our gardens.
Yeah, we got off to a slow start with the garden stuff this year, but it's taken off now.
Oh.
It's going crazy now.
Mine is, every tomato plant is taller than me. And I know I'm not tall, but still, I mean, 5'4", they're taller than me.
They're rolling. Yeah.
Yep.
It was like nothing at all when we first planted everything. It was like no rain, you know, for what, 3 weeks or whatever
Right.
it was, and now it's, you know, kind of gotten that backwards now.
We're going to reuse this bowl. I think that's good, Duane.
That's pretty well blended now.
Yep, I'd say so. Okay. Let's show them what it looks like. So it's real dry. Okay, and we all know that brownies, we want them to be ooey and gooey and, you know, all that
Okay.
good stuff. Well, they're going to be. So we're going to pour in it might be over a little more than 2 cups. We're going to put that in there. And I'll just have you do that
Again, slow.
on low, because I would typically fold it in. And once you're finished, you let it sit for a minute or 2,
Okay.
because it will eventually take all the liquid and incorporate it into the brownies. And just for our viewers' sake, if for some reason you didn't use enough zucchini, or it doesn't look like it's getting thick, like you want it to and liquidy, I would say you can add a couple drops of water, and that's not going to hurt it, because it does say that in the recipe.
It's funny thinking of zucchini as something like for a dessert. You know,
I know.
that's like really that, you know.
Well, zucchini bread. I've made zucchini bars. There's a lot of things out there you can make with zucchini. I mean, it's so versatile. I mean, to be honest with you, and I said earlier, I've made a different recipe, I think, every day this week with zucchini in it. From a zucchini chicken casserole to just a side dish. And a dessert. Every day it's something new.
I guess when the zucchini plants explode, you got to work out.
You have to
work out ways to use them, right?
Yeah, and you know, a nice thing too that a lot of people don't remember is that you can shred them and freeze them.
Oh, okay.
And I do that and use them for the
Okay.
future. I mean, you do have to let them sit in a colander, because they're, you know, when they defrost, there's gonna be a little extra liquid in there. But I think you're good,
This is
Duane.
pretty well blended now.
I think so. And I'm just gonna go in there and just make sure the bottom of that. And we're gonna let it sit for a couple minutes, because it's gonna get thicker and thicker. Well, I should say it's gonna pull the moisture out of the zucchini, and it is. I mean, like, I can feel it. So it's good to let it sit for a minute, and then you can decide.
It's interesting. That almost looks like a box
brownie mix.
brownie mix thing.
Yeah, and look, I mean, the more I kind of fold it in, the more you can see the liquid, and we'll show our viewers here this in a moment. And I wanted to talk too about, you can do these a different way. I made it one last night for us to taste. And I did it more like a 8x8 pan, a square. So the square pan, they're taller. It's more like a cake, still a brownie, but and that's what we're going to taste today, because we'll stick these in the oven, and they got to cool before we can frost, which we're going to make frosting in a minute too. And then, but we're going to do it in a 9x13.
Okay.
So you can do it, and they'll just be thinner. That's the only difference. They come out the same. But look at this.
That looks. It literally looks like a box of brownie mix.
I know, and you know what? If I can make it homemade, it makes me so happy.
Wow.
And
Yeah.
it is. Look at that liquid. You can really.
It
you
looks
don't
damp.
expect it.
Yep.
So what we're going to do, we have the oven set at 350. So we're going to do this in a larger pan, like I said.
Okay.
And Duane, you're
Does it get sprayed?
He's so good at this.
Yay.
There you go.
This is like spray painting, right?
Yes. Cover all the areas. Don't get it anywhere else, right? Okay. And I always do the aluminum foil with brownies, because they'll see it when we get the other ones out. You can just pull them right out.
Pop it right out.
And
Sure,
it makes it easier to cut and
makes
everything.
sense.
So look at this. This is going
that's
in
awesome.
there. And we're just going to spread them in there. So do you want to hold the bowl? Look at it.
It's funny.
Right.
It's funny how easy that is too.
I
I
know.
mean, this wasn't complicated at all.
Not at all. This is a really easy recipe, and it does not disappoint, as anyone who watched the show before and utilized this recipe. It's a great brownie recipe. It's healthy. You can do substitutions if you know how to convert to different kinds of flour. You can use the applesauce, like I said.
Okay.
And you just kind of gets a little, sometimes I spray my spatula because it just gets a little thick in there. It's very moist.
That's crazy.
I know.
It's really wild.
Yeah,
How about that?
yeah. And you're going to bake it 25 to 35 minutes. I check it at 25, and if it needs more, you always want to check. And it's going to be a chewy, like I said, a gooey brownie. So
Okay.
it's going to be a little more on the wet side. But you test it, and if it springs back, that's pretty
Now,
much.
do you test it like taking like a toothpick and
I
sticking it
don't.
in?
I don't. Not with this, because it's not a cake.
It's not a cake. Okay.
No. And a lot of times brownies will pull away from the side, or cakes do. This, it doesn't really.
Okay.
It does bake more like a brownie. So we'll stick that in the oven, and then we'll come back and we'll make frosting for this.
Okay.
And then we'll taste test the other one that we did last night.
Awesome. All right. Okay, so Lisa, so we got to have frosting on top of that,
Have
right?
to have frosting on
Okay.
it. Okay, so I have some powdered sugar, about 2 cups. So we'll put,
Little puff.
a little puff there. There we go. And we have 3 tablespoons of cocoa powder. Do you want to whisk that together, Duane?
Like this again?
Yes.
Okay.
Thank you.
That's actually really easy.
It is very easy.
That goes really fast.
Yep. And we're going to put in a teaspoon of vanilla. It's not going to make too much of a difference as far as the liquid goes.
Okay.
But you can stop with the whisk, and if you want to start using that, let me put a little bit more, just because I think the whisk took a little bit of that away.
Did it stick? It's sticking
Yeah, it was sticking to it. Yep, you want to do it on low because it's
Okay.
going to fly up. And then we're going to incorporate, this is 1/4 cup of milk, so we'll incorporate a little bit at a time. It does get a little messy when you don't use a high bowl, but I wanted our viewers to see what you're doing.
You
Yeah.
can see it, right.
Yeah. Oh, I did forget. You're supposed to throw in like a pinch of salt.
Oh, okay.
So I forgot about that. I had it down here. A little milk goes a long way with frosting. Yep, you might need to turn it up now that the, yeah, looks good. I don't think-
It's looking like frosting, yeah.
Yeah, it is.
So this isn't frosting in the little can that you buy at the store.
I never buy that. If you look at the ingredients on the side of that, Duane, it's a little scary.
Pretty straightforward here.
Yeah, this is very natural. Yep.
Do you need to scrape the edges?
Yeah, I was going to do that. We'll get that down there for you. Nice. This is my favorite frosting. It is really good. Let me just go like that. There we go. Yep, you can turn it up. A couple more times through and we should be good.
Lisa, this recipe was easy.
It is easy.
I mean, that really, wow, surprising.
Yep. I think that's good. I think you got it. Perfect. And if you wanna, there's a trick.
Push the button.
Well, before you do that, there's a trick. If you hold it up a little higher, you can get that frosting off of there.
It'll come off. Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay. There
And then, of course, if my kids were here, they would be saying, "Can I lick those?"
Licking those? Okay.
We're just going to set this aside because our brownies are still baking.
Okay.
But I told you that last night I made a batch in a smaller pan. And this is why I use the aluminum foil. Look how nice that is.
Wow.
So these are a little taller, a little thicker. But again, ours are going to be a little flatter in the other pan because we did a wider pan. So what I like to do is cut little tiny squares because I always think that I'm, not doing anything bad by eating chocolate if it's a little tiny square, but it's taller. So I don't even think we need a plate. I think we can just grab one. Look at how moist that is.
Wow. That's awesome.
Yep. You ready?
Mm-hmm. That is great. Lisa, that is awesome.
Thank you. You'd never know there was zucchini in that. You don't see it.
It doesn't taste, it tastes like brownies.
It is the moistest brownie ever. I will say 2 days in an airtight container. You could put it in the fridge, it'll give it another day, but these need to be eaten right away. So they're good.
Well, Lisa, thanks for the phenomenal recipe.
You're welcome.
That's
You're
great.
welcome.
When you're out for a hike, do you have to cook a fish? No. Let's have dessert.
Come home and have dessert. It's got
That's
zucchini
awesome.
in it. It's healthy.
Well, thanks to Brenda for the hike on the trail.
Yeah.
And thank you at home for joining us, and we will talk to you next time.